Hi, today we're going to be exploring pelvic circles. Sometimes people call it the pelvic clock or the pelvic compass. I tend to just use pelvic circles as the reference point because thinking about the numbers of a clock or the directions on a compass causes my brain to get confused. So I'll be using anatomical reference points, but if you would rather use reference points in your own mind of 12 o'clock and 6 o'clock or north and south and west and east, use whatever in your own mind makes sense to you. So the anatomical points we're going to be referencing are the tailbone point. So when I reference the tailbone, it means you're pressing the tailbone towards the floor and the back's going to arch, and then neutral. And then the top point in the circle, this point up here, is behind the navel. So when I reference that point, you're pushing that part into the floor. So you see how I engage my belly, my back gets flat. And then the other 2 points, reference points, are the right side of the circle, which means the back right side of the pelvis presses into the floor, and the left side gets a little bit lighter and lifts slightly. And then the opposite side is the left side of the pelvis, which is where you'll be pressing the left side of the pelvis a little bit down into the floor, and the right side lifts a little bit. Those are the reference points. And we'll be doing various parts of the circle. We'll do quarter circles from the bottom point to the right side. We'll do quarter circles from the bottom point to the left side. Then we'll do quarter circles starting at the top point with the back flat, going to the right side of the pelvis and back. We'll do the quarter circle, the other half from the top point to the left side of the pelvis and back. Then we'll do half circles from tail up the right side to the top and back down to the tail. We'll do half circles to the left from the tail up to the top and back down the left side. And then we'll finish by doing full circles a few times in each direction. Go ahead and lie down. Bent knees, feet flat. If you need a little something under the head, that's fine. Just make sure it's not too thick. If you can rest comfortably on the floor without anything under your head, that's great. And position your feet so that your knees are comfortable. Soles of the feet are flat. The soles of the feet will remain still and grounded in a relaxed way throughout the movement, and the legs move just a tiny bit because of the movement of the pelvis. It's not a big movement in the legs. If the legs are moving a lot, that's a sign that you're maybe going too fast or too big, or using the weight of the leg bones to do the movement rather than using these deep muscles in the core. I'm going to rest my hands on my abdomen so maybe you can see a little bit more of the movement that's happening. First, we'll just press down through each of those points. So on the inhale, press down through the tailbone part and feel your back arch a little bit. Exhale, return to neutral. Let's do that tailbone point one more time. Inhale, press down through the tailbone part. Back contracts, belly opens. Exhale, slow return to neutral. Pause at neutral, take an inhale. Exhale, pushing down with the top part of the circle, you flatten the back, the tail tucks the other way, and the back of the navel pushes down. And inhale to neutral. Let's do that top reference point again. Exhale, press down through the top point in the circle. Belly contracts. Inhale, neutral. Now, inhale, press down through the right side of the pelvis, and you see the left side lifts and tips a little bit. And then neutral. And again, press down through the right side of the pelvis. Left side tips a little bit. And neutral. Now we're referencing the left point in the circle. So press down through the left side of the pelvis. Right side lifts a little bit. Back to neutral. One more with that left reference point. Push the left side of the pelvis down. Right side lifts slightly. And neutral, pause for a breath.
Now we'll start those quarter circles. Inhale, press down through the tailbone part, arch the back a little bit. Exhale, from the tailbone, you go to the right side of the pelvis, grounded, left side a little bit lifted. Inhale, from right side of the pelvis, back to the tail in the center. Trace that part of the circle 2 more times. Exhale, tail to right side of pelvis. Inhale, right side of pelvis to tail. One more. Exhale, tail to right side pelvis. Inhale, right side pelvis to tail. Relax at neutral. Take a breath. Now we do that left bottom quarter of the circle. Inhale, start at the tail. Exhale, from the tail, you press down through the left side. Right side lifts a little bit. Inhale, back to the tail. Exhale, tail to left side pelvis, grounding. Inhale, left side to the tail. One more. Exhale, tail to left side pelvis. Inhale, tracing that part of the circle back to the tail. And exhale, relax, take a breath. Now we do quarter circles at the top part. So you start by exhaling and pressing down with the back, engaging the belly. Inhale, from behind the navel, you go to the right side of the pelvis, point in the circle. And exhale, return back to the center of the circle at the top, pressing down through the navel. Inhale, right side of pelvis. Exhale, trace back to the center behind the navel. One more time. Inhale, from behind the navel to the right side, left side pelvis a little bit lifted. Exhale, back to center behind the navel and relax to neutral. Pause for a breath. Okay, now we do the other quarter part of the circle on the top. Exhale, flatten the back. Push down at that top point behind the navel. From there, inhale to the left side of the pelvis, grounded. Exhale, left side, roll back to the center point at the top. Inhale, center point at the top, roll to the left side of the pelvis. Exhale, back to the center point at the top. One more. Inhale to the left side pelvis, quarter circle, and then exhale from left side of pelvis back to behind the navel. Pause and relax. Now we'll be doing the right half of the circle. It starts with an inhale, press down through the tail, arch the back a little bit. From the tail, exhale, go to the right side of the pelvis and keep going from the right side up that half of the circle till you get to the top point, navel pulled in, back flat. From the navel, you go back down the right side until you're at the tail again. Exhale from the tail up the right side, through right side of pelvis to behind the navel, and then inhale from behind the navel, down the right side, back to the tail. One more up and down that right side. Notice if there's any parts that are a little sticky or not as cooperative. When you get back to the tail, relax. Let go of any muscular tension. Now we'll do the left half of the circle. Inhale, press through the tail. Exhale, you go up the left point through the left side of the pelvis. Keep going till you're pushing behind the navel. From behind the navel, go back down the left side to the tail. Two more. Exhale, up the left side to the center at the top. Inhale from the top down the left side to the tail. One more, up and down the left side. Exhale to the top at the center, back flat. Inhale, rewind, down the left side, back to the tail, and pause and relax. Okay, now we've made our way to the big full circles. Sometimes this is almost easier than doing those little sections. So inhale to the tail. Exhale, come up the right side of the pelvis to behind the navel, across the top part of the circle, go down the left side pelvis, back to the tail. Make it as smooth as you can, and do that a couple more times. Circling up the right side, down the left side. One more. Breathing freely. Pause when you get back to the tail. Relax. Now a reverse direction. Sometimes one direction is way easier than the other one. So inhale to the tail. Now you're coming up the left side of the pelvis till you get to the center point. Back is flat. You go down the right side, back to the tail. And do 3 more circles up the left, around the top, down the right side, back to the tail. 2 more. Good stretching and mobility work for this part of the body. Last time. And then when you're back to the tail, relax. You can keep your knees bent, or if you want to straighten your legs for a moment. We'll spend just a minute here observing any effects from the practice. Is there any more energy flow in this area? Is your back resting any differently on the floor? Maybe your breathing seems different than it was at the beginning. If you straightened your legs, bend your knees, roll to one side, support your head, pause side lying with your top hand on the floor, take a breath or two. And sitting up carefully.
So this is a great practice to do on a regular basis. Certainly as you get more comfortable with it, you could do more abbreviated practice of it where maybe you're not doing all the quarter circles and stuff, but that's all great if you have the time to do it. It's really good motor control and movement for this area of the body.